morning, honorable members. My name is Hamis Abdullahi. I'm the Director of Banking Services Department. Thank you.
Chairman, honorable member, my name is Kofo Salam Alaya, Legal Advisor, Director of Legal Services, Central Bank of Nigeria. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and honorable members. My name is Hussein Ismail Kagara, Banking Services Department. I'm the head of the domestic payments.
It expressed displeasure at the fact that the central bank had refused invitations from several meetings on this matter. We have also expressed our displeasure at the fact that letters written asking for specific documents have not been responded to. Further, also reported to the committee that the leadership of the House actually waded into the matter and asked that a meeting be held between the CBN governor, myself, and the deputy governor, where those matters were split out. But I would still want to put it on record that this committee was displeased at the consistent ignoring us by invitation to the papers for government by the Central Bank of Nigeria, so that the work will become a matter that we just talked about and never revisited. So CBN is taking note of our displeasure of this, and we do hope that going forward we will have a better yield of response from you when it comes to the Parliament generally and the Public Account Committee in particular. Because like I said, there is no business committee that will be the general mandate without the cooperation of the Central Bank of Nigeria. You are a very, very good institution to work with. So that you can without operating to the federal committee and every other office that has to do with financial changes. Don't you go and put it back in the record. I don't know whether that's going to start. I want to say something before we proceed.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. I've noted presentation, and we promise that we will continue. I believe the last time I led the delegation, I was here as well. Unfortunately, the meeting didn't take place because of some logistic issues on the part of the National Assembly. But I assure you, you are going to have full cooperation from this management of the Central Bank. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So please administer the oath so that we can go on to the business of...
We will stick with any word at your pleasure, sir.
All right.
Good morning, Honorable Chairman and distinguished members of the committee. Dear Remita is my name, Managing Director, Remita Payment Services Limited. Thank you, sir.
All right. Please go ahead with the oath or the affirmation. Starting from there, we just want the Governor of Central Bank to give us an insight into the Remita agreement with the CBN and any other major facts that you may want to put forward before us, before we go into the engagement, the question and answer session, based on the information that we have received from previous appearances of other agencies of government and the banks that came here to testify. So, Deputy Governor, is over to you. Thank you.
Honorable Chairman of this noble committee, I have the Director of Banking Services Department, Director Hamisu Abdullahi. I will call on him to give us the background on the issues that you raised.
The Director, what?
Director of Banking Services.
Banking Services, oh, okay. Yeah. All right, yes, please, he can take the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Chairman and honorable members of the committee. Yes, in 2011, the Central Bank was directed to provide electronic platform that will facilitate payments on behalf of MDS to beneficiaries' account in the commercial bank. And as at that time, there was no platform available to use. So central bank deemed it fit to source for an alternative ways of doing this and engage 2 companies. Out of those 2 companies, Remita was Systems PAC was selected based on merit and based on the fact that they had been rendering similar services to commercial bank. Remember, central bank is a banker to the federal government. So as a banker, we need to also integrate GIPMIS and also provide efficient electronic payment services to our numerous customers, largely ministry, department, and agencies. So Remita was engaged in the 2011, but the operation commenced in 2012 with payment module only. So Systems PAC was using their Remita payment platform to assist CBN. An integration took place between GIPMIS owned by Office of the Accountant General and also T24 application, which is a banking application of the CBN, such that MDS from the comfort of their office can initiate payment. The payment will go to Remita. Remita will send the payment instructions to CBN for CBN to confirm the availability of funds in the account, debit the account, and now the CBN will transmit the feedback back to Remita for Remita to finalize that transaction by sending the schedule of payment to commercial banks so that beneficiaries can be credited. So all this integration was done. Agreement was signed between Systems PAC and CBN based on what I have mentioned to provide these services. So that agreement was signed in 2012. There were also fees to be charged. Central Bank actually paid for that integration, but we did not do that alone. We consulted stakeholders, including Office of the Accountant General, that issued TSA guideline and recognized Remita in the guideline. So there are fees. 2 chargeable fees include fees on payment, which is borne by the payer, and also fees on collections. The fees charged under the TSA policy are in line with the standard fee structure applicable in the banking industry. We also provided statistics to the committee showing from year 2015 to 2022, as requested, the volume of transactions that pass through Remita, volume of collections that pass through Remita, revenue collection, is 86,119,645, while the value is 34.31 trillion that was received. The CBN continued to enhance the Treasury single account collection and payment modules. Over the years, we have transformed from using only one organization to collect revenue. Now we are using aggregator model, which means all CBN licensed payment service providers can participate in the scheme by collecting revenue and transmitting it to NIPS, which is the aggregator, for settlement at CBN twice in a day. So that's the summary of what we have. Thank you very much, honorable members. Thank you, Deputy Governor.
So a comprehensive overview and the report has been submitted. So if you go to the last page of the report, the attachment, you mentioned the issue of the fees. The fee was actually 23.
Can you please speak louder? Speak a little louder.
the fee, I said a comprehensive report has been submitted to the committee.
Yes, please.
And on the fee structure, if you check the attachment, table 1, the total value that was actually transmitted between that channel is about 34.3 trillion, and the fees charged on that.
Trillion naira.
Trillion naira, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because when you say trillion, I may think you're talking in dollars.
No. If you have a trillion naira, 34 trillion, the dollar will be 20 kobo today. And then the fees that have been charged on that is about roughly 24 billion during the period from 2015 to 2023.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Let me start off by asking from the foundation of the whole thing. You spoke about an agreement between the CBN and the Remita, or with System Spec. Your agreement was with System Spec. Okay, but are you aware that the System Spec is not the current body or current corporate body that handles this transaction? Yes, please.
If I may address that.
Yes, you may.
Yes, sir.
You are the legal person now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah, if you look at the recital to the agreement, usually we have this agreement being applicable, executable and implementable by the company or assigns nominees and the rest of them. And meanwhile, yes, there has been a transformation, in the counterparties to CBN on this agreement. Meanwhile, we already have a novation agreement, presently that has novated that agreement too.
When was that novation done?
Which is just beside me. So, yeah, the innovation has actually been processed. But
It's been processed?
Yes, like I said,
So, no, wait.
whoever succeeds System Spec can still go ahead to run this.
By virtue of which of the clauses of the contract? Can you read the clause of the contract that supports that claim? Meanwhile, you said there has been innovation, but now you said innovation is actually being processed, so there is none,
Yes,
as
sir.
we speak.
The opening of the 2011 agreement, which succeeds, says...
Please, can somebody, the people in the media, do you have a copy of that agreement? You should have, of that 2011 agreement.
Yes, we can pass the copy here. Executed December 7, 2011.
Yeah, we do have
Yes,
copies. I'm just asking them to project if they can find it.
Okay, if they can project.
But go ahead, go ahead.
This agreement, blah, 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 between System Spec Limited, a limited liability company whose address is at so. Here and thereafter referred to as System Spec, which expression shall, where the consent so admits, include its successors in title and assigns. So that makes this applicable to System Spec or any other company or persons that will succeed that particular company in any of its operations.
Okay, so you regard the Remita now as a successor to System Spec?
We need to, correct, but we should also understand that Remita actually began as a platform. As a platform,
No,
it's like
I
me
just want
having
to
a
know-
company and I have a product that I'm marketing. And the company is now, the Remita is actually 100% owned.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. Please, when you come before Parliament, you do listening and then you talk. So please, whenever you see me or any member of the committee coming on, please just pause your own and let them have the floor. You understand, sir?
I do understand.
All right, excellent. So I said, by your interpretation, Remita is a successor company to System Spec. Is that your interpretation?
It could have been Remita, it could have been anybody presented by System Spec as their successor. That's my interpretation.
You have to contextualize our discussion. You can't just say anybody. It can be Remita, it could have been. Contextualize the discussion now. We are talking about Remita and System Spec. Is Remita a successor company to System Spec?
That is my understanding. Yes, sir.
So System Spec is still an existing company. Is that correct?
I'm not aware that it has wound up. Yes, it's still existing.
And it also operates now like a holding company. Is that correct?
maybe System Step MD is here. I cannot, I may not.
No, you should know, because you are the one that entered into the contract with them. So you should be able to guide us on your understanding of that transmission.
Yes, sir.
It's not a very complex issue.
Remita, from my understanding, is 100% owned by System Spec, and we should not take it in isolation. Recall that when I was reading out the agreement, we said successors in title and assigns. So if successor in title does not apply, assigns will actually apply.
Okay, so in this case, we are in between either the successor in title or the assigned.
They can be either, sir.
Oh, okay. But you can't be affirmative on which one is applicable, or is it both?
I'm comfortable with assigns because they have taken over.
So no longer with success. Okay. Yeah. So we take assigns. All right, that's one. Two, are you also aware, because when the Attorney General of the Federation came here, he did tell us that the Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice had no input whatsoever into this agreement between the CBN and the System Spec. Answer me, is that correct?
Well, I was not present here, but if the question, because I was expecting a question to follow. You know, the Attorney General may be correct because we had no cause to refer it to the Attorney General's office. And again, we should also note that if my recollection will be correct and my interaction with the Office of Attorney General, the circular that maybe the Attorney General will have been referring to was a 2018 circular, which was also reiterated again in another 2012 circular. You know, if I may have mentioned the date. Original was in 2018, another one in 2012. However, the agreement was actually 2011. So there was no directives from the Office of the Attorney General. That is, if it is even applicable to CBN, as at the time this agreement was made. That's something we need to.
The position of the Attorney General when he came was that for any contract that will bind the federal government of Nigeria to the tune of 50 million naira and above, if my memory serves me right, yeah, that kind of sort of an agreement must have the imprint of the Office of the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice. Here we are talking about trillions of naira without the input or imprint of the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. Will you regard that as something material?
Mr. Chairman, sorry, I was almost calling you my lord. Mr. Chairman, sir, if we look at this agreement, as the time it started, there was no figure to it. There wasn't. So there was no figure to this agreement. That's number one. Number two, sir, we also need to say that the jury is still out as to the applicability of these circulars to the Central Bank of Nigeria. That is today. Because, sir, if I...
Okay, you are contesting the applicability of the circular to the CBN.
I'm not contesting, but I'm just putting it in context.
Okay.
That if I may just even drag us down to why it may not be applicable, we have some provisions in the CBN Act that may not be in that of the other agencies. And again, the record of Central Bank did not even show that this 2018 circular and the 2012 circular was actually even passed to Central Bank of Nigeria. Yes, we may look at the context that say, okay, chief executives of agencies, parastatals of government, maybe we want to draw that, but if you look at provision of section 6 of the CBN Act that grants the board of Central Bank to do certain things, appears to have limited everything to us, except that the fact that the Public Procurement Act is applicable to us. We go there, we seek no objection. And again, also, certain contract may go to FEC, and we also want to put before you that the bank received waiver, sometimes in 2018 from the president, about the applicability of certain provisions. So these are some of the things that we do. But the key thing that I want the committee to note is that as at the time this agreement was being signed, there was no one kobo written there. So the issue of whether the value that we ascribe, you can only submit. You can only imagine that, oh, at the end of the day, this may be like it was no figure.
You can just imagine that, yes, it may be up to 50 million, it may be less than 50 million.
Correct, sir.
For and the whole collections of the federal government of Nigeria through over almost 1,000 ministry departments and agencies. Well, that's a different matter. So that opening clause in that contract, will you regard it as an innovation clause?
No, it's not, sir. Innovation is where a contract is existent between two parties and one of them decides to now...
Because you made a reference to the fact that there's an innovation clause that covers the field on trying to interpret this contract. So I was asking you whether that clause you were referring to is an innovation clause.
No, this is not an innovation clause.
This
is a standard clause where you expect that there might be a scenario where a counterparty will cede its rights and obligation under the contract to another
I don't want
party.
to spend too much time on that. Honorable colleagues, we can move on to other issues. Yes, Deputy Chairman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, in the course of your presentation, talking about the director now, you mentioned that CBN was mandated to enter into this e-collection process. By who? Is it Mr. President or Minister of Finance? That's one. Then secondly, I want to know, what is the process that you follow in selecting Remita in this TSA transaction?
Okay, so let me advise, please. You may just take those questions so that we have them in the batch. So you take note of these ones, and then a few other colleagues will ask questions that you can then take. Yes, Honorable Akinsi.
Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, the CBN Deputy Governor and others, good morning. Whilst my brother in legal was talking about the powers that CBN had, either not to do things that has to do with the Constitution, because the Constitution of the Federal Republic has said for any amount to be spent on behalf or any agreement to be reached on behalf of government, it should be through the office of the Attorney General. You've talked about the board of CBN. I want us to have the whatever document you have as regards the powers of CBN, and where it is written there that it may not take decisions or take things around with the Attorney General. That is one. Secondly, is there an arrangement or an agreement that those assignees, as you mentioned them, is there anything they signed with CBN to collect money that belongs to the Federation on behalf of System Spec? If you have that too, please let us have it. You said the agreement you had, you mentioned first one 2018, the second one 2012.
No, 2018 is the second one, Abi. Oh, you're referring to the circular there. Yeah, so, but there's also
there's a circular 2012. There's a circular 2012, and there's another one 2018. I am also of the opinion that you please furnish us those circulars so that we'll be able to move. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Honorable. Come on.
Director Lagos, just back to you concerning this Remita migration from System Spec to Remita. I'm wondering, is there any correspondence between the System Spec, writing a letter to CBN notifying them that, look, we are moving from System Spec to Remita, that thereby, cancelling the existing or nullifying the existing agreement you have with System Spec, so that we'll see that letter also of the migration or the correspondence stating that. Thank you very much.
All right.
Director, can agency maintain more than one sub-account with the central bank? If yes, on which circumstances is possible?
You got that question too, sir? Huh?
An agency can maintain more than one sub-account with the CBN.
All right. And then finally, before you take them, okay, we guys, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In our interaction with some of the MDAs, some of them have found that they no longer receive daily statements from the CBN as they are supposed to. And yet, they are, one of the circulars, I think on the 20th March 2015, said all MDAs are required to do daily reconciliation of their sub-accounts. This is impossible if they are not able to receive their statements from the CBN as is required. I don't know whether you have any clarification you want to make on this. I mean, this came in the course of discussions, with the MDAs,
All right. I want to ask about. Okay, Honorable Yampe. I'm sorry. I hope they are not getting too many. You are just noting them. Yeah, it's better so that we save time.
My question, Deputy Governor, my question is very simple. Most of the banks we interface with them here at the committee, they admitted having a transit account. Why did you mandate them to have a transit account during the transaction process?
In other words, what is the purpose of the transit account? Okay, so I wanted to ask about this, the fee regime in the various agreements that you have had. I know we have moved about 3 steps since the commencement of the initial agreement on the fees chargeable and the sharing ratio of the fees. And one of the information here is that the CBN and the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation also have a portion of the fees which they take from the collectors, I mean from Remita. Is that correct? If it is correct, how much have those fees summed up to for the Central Bank of Nigeria and for the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation since inception to now? So you can take those questions and then if we have others. Thank you.
Of the fees from the chairman, I will invite the next officer, Assistant Director Kagara, to answer that. And then the honorable member asked a lot of legal issues. I will also invite the Director of Legal Services of the bank. And then every other thing on Remita is going to be on the Director BKSD that's in charge of the entire collections on behalf of the federal government.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and honorable members. With respect to fees charges, at the beginning of the TSA, there are 2 segments of the TSA. There is the payment segment and also there is the e-collection segment. So there are 2 regimes of fees. For the e-payment, which is the 4th segment, the fee to be charged is, anyway, I'll get the figure. There are 2 segments, the fee to be charged, and then there is a sharing formula. The ratio to be shared between CBN and Systems PAC for the e-payment is actually 40-60. So Systems PAC takes 60% of the e-payment, while Remita takes 60%. Then we have the e-collection segment. At the beginning of the e-collection segment, the fee is 1% of the revenue collected. But sometimes in 2015, when Mr. President, then former President Muhammadu Buhari issued a circular that all accounts of MDAs should be closed with commercial banks and returned to CBN, there was an outcry that the fee was actually on the high side. And then the management of the central bank at that material time suspended the collection, the charge of 1%, and asked that all the parties that are involved in the collection, in benefiting from the sharing ratio, should return whatever amount they have collected at that material time. And if I can remember then, the total amount was about 7.4 billion, if I'm correct, but we can check the records of the exact amount that was returned by all the parties. And those funds that were returned in 20...
Which parties? Specify.
The parties are CBN, Remita, and DMBs, the commercial banks. These 3 parties returned all the fees that was given to them under the e-collection segment in 2015, which amount to about 7.4 billion, if I can be correct, but I can check the figures to confirm. Those funds that were returned, by November 2015, they were disaggregated and returned to the account of all the affected MDAs. That is for the e-collection. At that material time, the Office of the Accountant General now took over the responsibility to pay Remita for the services in which is being rendered for the collections of government revenue. At a point, the Office of the Accountant General, an invoice will be sent to them by Remita. They will do their assessment and issue a mandate, and Systems PAC is paid. But when system is paid, because there are parties that are involved, whatever value is paid at that material time is shared among the parties that were involved. But
which parties now again?
The same 3 parties, DMBs.
The Office of the Accountant General pays Systems PAC based on the invoice that Systems PAC provides.
Yes, I'm giving a context and a historical background for you to understand what actually transpired. So that continues for a while. But at a particular point in time, the Office of the Accountant General said they are unable to pay. They will not be able to be paying.
For how many years did that happen?
The payment made by Accountant General is between 2016 to about 2018.
We want you to be very, very categorical.
Yes, I'm sorry.
2016, 2017, and 2018 for 3 years.
Yes.
The Accountant General was paying system specs for the services they are rendering in this contract.
Yes, they were paying for the services being rendered by system specs, and all the parties are involved. The whole money that is being paid is not that Remita takes everything. All the parties that are involved in the chain are actually paid from that particular.
Just a moment, please, just to get you very well. When the Accountant General pays system specs now shares that
among the parties.
Which parties?
CBN.
Okay.
The deposit money banks.
Yes, please.
Those are the parties that are involved in that connection.
The two parties.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have an idea of the ratio of the sharing of that money?
The ratio of sharing is central bank takes 10%, commercial bank takes 40, and then 50 goes to Remita.
Accountant General, where do you get this money from? The money you paid for those 3 years are sourced from where? Go ahead.
Sir, the chairman, sir. Let me put a kind of a flesh to what you just said before. Okay, sir. In 2015, when it was when we started, just like he said, 10%, 50%, and 40% respectively to CBN, Remita, and commercial banks, and all he mentioned that the funds were refunded to the appropriate MDAs were also. Initially, when it was started, nobody emphasized all of this. I want to make reference to what the legal advisor mentioned, because just like when he said, no figure was put at any of those things. Nobody emphasized any of all of this until when the implementation proper begins, and there was no actual plans on how much revenue is going to be generated.
Let's always stick to the issue and the question. The monies you paid for those 3 years,
yes, government
were sourced from where?
Government is handling it.
Budget.
Government, not.
Was it budget? Was it from you?
I can't really say specifically to that because it's another department that's preparing it. So I will make maybe when next we come.
Okay, so how much are we talking about here?
It varies. Collections are not really static.
I understand. I say how much? How much did you pay in those? The reason why the accountant spoke with me and said you are the expert in this field, and that's why you are here. Yes, so please don't push any matter back to anybody again.
I'm not pushing to anybody.
So how much was paid by the government of Nigeria to system specs for the services rendered in those 3 years?
I have to check the records, sir. I have to check.
CBN, do you have the figures?
Okay. Yes. Yes, sir. I think I have it here.
Okay, excellent.
It's part of what we have submitted in the summary earlier.
Oh, okay.
In March 2015 to 2016, the transaction counts 4.2 million, and the transaction value and the fee paid at that time is 8.5 billion.
8.5 billion.
Yes.
Was the fee paid for 1 year?
Yes. Not really.
2016.
March 2015 to April 2016.
Okay, was 8.5 billion.
Yes. And then May 2016 to December 2016, 1.3 billion, and then January 2017 sorry, that's for the period. For the period you have in question, because other period, because let me give a background to this, sir. Initially, government was bearing the burden of the fee, and the Office of Accountant General of the Federation insisted that this is not sustainable. It was a new system.
Before you start, we just want to take it at the time. Before you realized it was not sustainable, how much had been paid? Okay. And from what source? That's the question.
From the record I have before me,
yes,
is 8.5 billion plus 1.3 billion. That's about 9.8
billion. That's all that was paid.
That was, let me confirm from the records. But this is what we have in the summary. So if there's any other fee paid at all, we can be able to
So
confirm. But
when
I'm
you
not
pay,
sure
when
if
you
there's
now
any
pay that to, no, let's get the process. When you now pay that to system spec now gives the CBN what percentage?
10%, sir.
Okay, so, and gives the DMB what percentage?
40%, sir.
And then they take 50%?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that money you are paying, that money you paid was sourced from where? That's the question. Is it just from your own normal budgetary provision or from what other source?
That's what I said, that we'll have to make some confirmation about that.
Okay,
so that I'll be able to
okay. Were there fees also being paid by individual customers in those years? Were there charges being paid by by individual customers in those years? Can somebody provide an answer? Remita?
No customers